Can you build a successful business yourself as a developer if you're not a salesperson? As we all know, developers and salespeople usually share different traits. Developers seems to be more analytical. Most people are more introverted. They're into, again, maths and algorithms and stuff like that. And I don't mean to oversimplify that because I'm a developer myself, but most salespeople are more extrovert. They're trying to be more dynamic and more actionable and just jumping on calls and emails and this and that. So it's different dynamic in the environment of people that are working together. Usually, again, when you see a dev and a salesperson, you can easily tell the difference. Again, I'm saying most times. Of course, most stereotypes are no longer effective as of the past few years, but you get the gist out of it. So most developers who have spent several years in a company may decide, well, at least some of them may decide that they want to start their own business, become a full-time freelancer, a consultant, or directly form an agency. And to be honest, it's getting extremely common. And that's the reason why we have so many development agencies out there. And also design agencies and SEO agencies and things like that. But at least for the marketing part, because creative people often work in ads agencies and marketing agencies and creative studios that are more kind of working more directly with clients or understanding the business needs in a kind of a better way. While developers are often kind of assigned a bunch of tasks without really being asked to understand the business semantics of things. And of course, I'm talking about junior developers, sometimes mid-level developers. When you become a senior developer and senior technical architect and things like that, you're expected, it's a hard requirement to understand the business semantics, because in order to build the right architecture, in order to put all the pieces together, you need to understand the business needs, the business expectations, the business requirements in order to pick the right solution for a given problem. So now that we have that out of the way, how can a web developer, or can a web developer become a founder, a successful one, when they don't possess sales skills? It's a very common question. Like I said, lots of web development agencies out there, lots of people who have started as developers and decided to found their own companies. And there's a good reason for that. Statistically speaking, there are lots of those cases. And the reason being is that good web developers and software developers and other types of developers are really smart. They have a high capacity in terms of brain power and memory and everything else. They can collect references to different stories and resources. They know where to find stuff. They think fast. They can analyze business situations. And on top of that, they get lots of business opportunities. So they get to work on different business problems. It's an always evolving and always learning cycle. So their brain is always in a learning workflow itself. And on top of that, the salaries are really great, which means that, for example, as a developer in most places, you can get to start their own business in a different non-IT industry and probably pay people half of your usual salary or even less. Again, I'm talking about different types of jobs that are not in IT, not in digital, not in the medical industry or law. It's simply the gap is too high. So you can start small by even offloading a portion of your salary to a different role, which is not in IT, which means that demand is lower and the usual salaries are lower. That's, again, I'm oversimplifying. So again, it's likely that web developers and software engineers may look forward to different opportunities to start on their own, which is fine. Again, I still don't advise most people to really take this route because it's a lot of work that's not really development related. Like when I started as a business owner, first I started as a freelancer and then I founded the company. I soon realized that the time I was spending on development was getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter because I had to do sales and marketing and networking and finances, accounting, billing, legal stuff, and a bunch of other different things unrelated to what I was supposed to do as a developer, right? Because that's the essence of running a business. But still, most people believe, or it's a common way to actually start a business, to just focus on the sales. Like if you're a great salesman, of course you can do door-to-door, you can do networking events, you can, again, meetups or conferences, you can write cold emails and eventually find clients. And when you find clients, you can work for them. And at the same time, you can potentially hire people and you can outsource those people to those people. And of course, there's another misconception here because a great developer is not necessarily a great manager. a great recruiter, a great leader, and a lot of other things that a senior kind of a CEO or a founder needs. But regardless, if you've decided to do that, you have several different options. The first off, of course, is learn sales. Just become more extrovertial, just overcome your objections and everything else. Start talking to more and more clients. Start pitching your services. Try to solve problems first. This is the number one most important thing that you need to deal with, because once you start solving problems, there's a high chance that customers are going to come to you asking you to solve your problems by paying you just a portion of the return on investment that you're supposed to get them. So that's the first rule of thumb, so to speak. Number two is trying to find a co-founder. So co-founder is probably the smartest thing that most people tend to do. They get a business person who's, again, an extrovert, someone who's really great at sales, someone who can do the sales for them. And again, that's a great way. Usually you get someone who's a VP of sales elsewhere, or a chief sales officer, or someone else who is ready to become a co-founder of your business, given the fact that they like the idea. So they do the sales part for you. And potentially at first, they also take care of market analysis and business planning and other bits, so that you can possibly stay at the role of a CTO for a certain amount of time. Number three is work with a kind of sales agency or something else. By sales agency, I usually mean, all of those lead generation agencies that also do outreach. This may be a good start for you. Some work, some not, but if you're in a niche that's not that competitive, and if you provide something unique, this may be something to do. Number four, I think, is using some form of a marketplace. Marketplaces do the kind of the marketing for you, and this may be a great idea to utilize their own services so that they can bring you leads one way or another. Another option of the marketplace is partnerships. Partnerships could be instrumental because, for example, as a web developer, you can partner up with a hosting company, with an SEO company, advertising, creative, other things that also work with clients who have websites. So if you find the right partnerships, you can work together with the same clients and retain them for a longer period of time. And this could be mutually helpful relationship by you also onboarding your own clients to the types of services that your partners are following. Next one is marketing. You can entirely bet on marketing, which could be outbound and inbound, and try to build a brand of yourself, invest in press releases, invest in content marketing, PPC, and a bunch of other things in order to work around the sales issue. I know a lot of people who run agencies and they don't have sales staff. They don't really take on sales calls. They only have a request for proposal form with lots of fields, and their clients are only going to that specific form, closing that form, sending it, and if the company is interested, they get back to the client and say, we're starting the relationship. So that's, of course, a great way. And the last one is you can try to hire, if you don't want to have a co-founder, you can try to hire your VP of sales. Now that gets a little tricky. For starting businesses, this could be a very expensive endeavor. And more importantly, it's likely that you cannot teach that specific person the semantics of your own business and the specifics and how to overcome objections, because you're not great at sales. Like if you follow Steli FT from Close.io, they also have a blueprint on hiring salespeople, and the blueprint starts with the CEO should be the chief, salesman of the company for a while before they onboard their first salesperson, and then they can start training other people or kind of delegate that to the, again, chief sales officer or someone else who is going to be responsible with hiring. So long story short, there are different ways to do that. The thing is, you really need to decide whether you're willing to take the financial risks and work the crazy hours and so on running a business. That's the first thing. The second thing is you need to decide on whether you need sales or you can go through partnerships or marketing or other channels, and whether you're willing and interested in pursuing and pushing for becoming a great salesperson yourself, or you need a co-founder, a VP of sales, or someone else who can potentially do the heavy lifting for you. So once you've made a decision, you can give it a shot. Just again, make sure that you're fully in, that you're really interested in pursuing that. And if that's the case, good luck and probably see you on the interwebs.